Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 28th of February, comes to you from London. And we start, as always, by looking at currencies, then stock markets, commodities, and last of all, some US tech stocks. And we start with the dollar index. Really, not a lot happening in Forex these last couple of days. It's just really sitting quite static, waiting for a number of things. The Trump address to Congress tonight in the US will be a factor. And we see here that we are just still bearish below the cloud, right on support. We have upside and downside targets both activated. But we'd favour the upside on this chart purely because we've got this longer term and medium term bullish outlook. Remember, this is my long term picture, medium term and short term. So just a little bit of uncertainty creeping in there at the moment. And if we look at the euro, we see similarly inverted, bearish in the medium and long term, just bullish in the short term, hitting resistance. So where the dollar's hitting support on the dollar index, the euro is hitting resistance. And if we look at the Japanese yen, just as a proxy for what's really happening, we see here yen strengthening, dollar weakening. But medium term dollar strength, really at the moment, it's a case of getting through that December high again for a stronger dollar. So a lot of uncertainty at the moment. Is reflected there. Sterling is just holding on to this 124 level, pretty critical really. We've got downside targets that are not activated, one upside target that isn't activated and one that is. So we've got a bit of a mixed picture, struggling with the lagging line to get above the cloud here, so we're still bearish on all three charts. And this big move here has created this new thrust target to 121.16. So we are seeing downside moves all the time, creating these thrusts. It'll be interesting just to see if we can hold this 124 level. Take a look at the 1 minute chart for your shorter term targets. If we look here, we're seeing sterling against the euro, we're seeing a depreciation there as well. And if we look against the Swiss franc, sterling has pulled back there significantly too. Against the Australian dollar, we're just below this 162 level, 161.84 at the moment. Bearish on all three time frames and downside targets into the mid 150s. So Australian dollar looking strong. Starting to look at US stock markets, S&P still looking strong, bullish. We've got a 4% upside in the short term. Two targets pointing to that sort of range, 2461 and 2468 does suggest we'll go higher. Looking at the Nasdaq, we found support on the cloud on the short-term 60-minute chart. We have upside targets in the medium term, just a shortage of them in the short term. And the Dow Jones, again, just really continuing its run, looking pretty bullish all around. Russell 2000, bullish above the cloud here too. So US stock market's still looking pretty good. And the futures just slightly up this morning in London. So if we look at the FTSE 100 index, we see bearish below the cloud on the 60-minute chart. We do have an upside target of 7554, that's 4% upside, and then the medium-term chart's even stronger too. So we do expect the FTSE to come back in line. The US market's obviously leading things there. FTSE 250 slightly below the cloud as well on the short term, but the medium and long-term chart's looking great. The DAX, again, bullish on all three time frames, lagging line above on the short-term chart here, so that's pretty good too. The Nikkei down nearly 1% overnight. Stronger yen is having an effect there. Just struggling to break this 19,500 level. So really quite key there that we are just into bearish territory again in the short term. Hang Seng, not quite as much of a fall, down 0.17%. So still just hanging on to the bullish move on the cloud here. And the Shanghai Composite down 0.75%. But still holding on to its short-term bullishness as well. The Sensex, again, bullish above all three clouds, so looking pretty good there. We do have upside targets varying anywhere to 3%. What's interesting is this move here is the move that we saw in 2016. That translates to this thrust target here. If we activate that, we need to move higher than that high by 1%. Then we've got a 55% upside target, so pretty good going really. Aussie market down 0.25%, just coming back below the cloud, looking a bit worrying there in the short term. Brent crude falling away, just can't break at the moment. Back into these mid-50s level, just trading that range. Very frustrating for crude oil traders at the moment. And WTI, much the same thing, just falling back into below the cloud there too. US nat gas down 4%, so really falling. We're seeing really big downside targets here, 197. So um, it's looking pretty bearish there. Copper, we're seeing here is also just below the cloud, but bullish in the short and longer and medium term charts. Going straight to gold, if we look at the gold chart, bullish on all three time frames. This is the really big thing, is this move back into bullish territory on the medium term chart. We do have an upside target now, 1287. That's nearly 3% away. Just seeing a little bit of a deterioration here, where we've had this move down, we've just gone lower. On your 1 minute chart, that would actually probably give you a downside target, so you can go and take a look at that. On the silver chart, we're seeing here much the same picture, but holding on to a bullish picture all around. US government 10-year yields on the 2.37%, just recovering slightly, having been as high as 250. We're just coming back into this lower range. Apple still looking very strong, really just amazing looking chart, and really only just breaking the 2015 highs, so got more to do really. And we look at Google, bullish above all three time frames. Amazon also bullish. Facebook had a jump yesterday, just nudging this 137 mark, just edging higher all the time. Lots of upside targets. That's what we like to see. Microsoft just holding on to its bullishness in the short term, just not quite the performer of Facebook, but we've got still good upside targets. And Nvidia, one I'm watching very closely because I've got a small amount of these left, having liquidated at double and triple where I entered. I'm just looking at the last bit of the holding. So just still bearish below the cloud. We've got a new upside target here to 115. That'll be a further 10% upside. So just hanging in for that. But these downside targets are a little bit worrying too. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.